It's kind of a fact that haunted houses are awesome, and one made out of Lego means that there's countless ways to keep building it up, moving things around, and refining the look. It is a really long way from the cardboard pop-out ones that I used to have as a kid. This is my custom build. Obviously, it's very heavily inspired by the Monster Fighters haunted house. I did want to have a really strong starting reference, but I've used a bunch of my favourite minifigures as well from the recent Monsters release for October 2015. The underlying idea was to merge a few different horror themes together, so hopefully you enjoy it, get a few ideas, and obviously there's still a few loose ends and rough edges, so any feedback, hints, tips are just really appreciated too. It's a constant work in progress, like I guess most custom builds, and I'm just really stoked to show it off. So like I said, the first floor here is really modelled after the Monster Fighters haunted house, substituting pieces and colours I had access to. Notably, you're going to see a lot more black, brown and grey. I quickly abandoned the original plans as I built up onto the second floor. I really wanted to add a much more functional balcony and a big door that you can peek through. And above that, I've incorporated a few pieces from the Harry Potter line with the sand green tiles and the roof pieces. Also up on top we have our first theme for the house. Our zombie pirate is stranded with his essential pirating supplies. I do like a set that throws in something a little bit unexpected. Like a pirate on the roof felt weird, but it got me asking myself questions like, how did he get up there? Like, what's the story? Does anyone else know that he's there? And I like the idea that this house is a bit of a safe haven for all the ghouls, ghosts and weirdos to hang out together. You know, a community for the fiendish. I think overall I'm least happy with the roof, but the way it's displayed, it's mostly covered anyway. So we've also got a few sand coloured bricks up here towards the back, and that ties in with the room below it, but you know, we'll get there soon enough. One thing I'd like to work out a little bit better for the front is some more plants and creatures. We've obviously got this plant guy over here. The idea is from the back, he appears just as another plant, you know, to anyone walking up to the house. I would really love to build out a bit more like of an overgrown area here for him to blend into. We also have a pretty cool trick-or-treater figure from the Monsters Figures line waiting at the front door, perhaps a little bit unaware of the horrors that await inside. So to open up the house, you literally just open it from the middle, revealing 2 levels, and what I like to consider are 3 different sections. On the bottom, we have a lab for the mad scientist working on his Frankenstein monster. It's a very fun build, you know, to put all the different gadgets in here, and it was a great opportunity to add a lot more colour to the playset. Going up the stairs, we have a bit more of a traditional living area with bookcases, a small shelf sitting above a record player with a speaker, as well as a small drinks table. Kind of a more old-fashioned apartment fit out, you know, for the ex-working class single zombie. This is obviously, you know, the more traditional area within the haunted house, but what haunted house is complete without an old mummy? I really did like that cliche of having like a mummy sarcophagus or a coffin or something in the attic or the basement, and I went ahead and built a whole theme out of it. So the bulk of this was obviously built using the Scooby-Doo mummy playset. I really like the look of it, and it was a very cheap way to get a few cool minifigures as well as the sarcophagus and the mummy. And yeah, we got a play feature here as well with the opening sarcophagus. I also took the chance to build it out with a bit of an ancient Egyptian statue as well as a crate of other stuff. Yeah, so this is an old house, and it made sense to have a bit of clutter around the place, especially in the mummy section to help it tie in with the other side with the apartment feel. So we do have a box here with a few records for the record player as well as an old stack of newspapers. So that's the house at the moment. I did fall in love with that original haunted house from the Monster Fighters line, especially the outside of the building, but I was thinking that if I ever did get it, I'd love to have a bit more variety, like a mummy that lived in the attic, or Frankenstein's bedroom on the bottom floor. And yet the original set got more and more expensive, so Yeah, this is me starting from scratch, but that meant I could really build out some of my own dedicated themes within the haunted house. I even attempted to build in some of my own little play features, like heading back down to the lab, we have our Frankenstein monster strapped to a movable table that can be adjusted, whether the good doctor needs them upright or pulled out for better access. The theme down here obviously has a lot more, stone, grey, a bit like a dungeon, just in this bottom corner of the house. While the other side of the lab retains a bit more of like a broken down wood look, to me anyway, with a lot more sort of workbenches for the scientists to work with, as well as his mechanical arm machine that can be used to work on the Frankenstein monster when the set is closed. That's one thing I was a little bit proud of, was the way everything looks once the set's been closed up. It's super cramped, but peeking through the windows, especially on the bottom floor in the mad scientist's lab with all that clutter, everything gets laid out in a pretty functional, logical way. The metal arm reaches the monster strapped to the table, there's access to the stairs as well as a path through to the back door. The upper level was obviously a bit more spacious, and I like the fact the sarcophagus lid, still raises fine with the set closed. And that kind of was a priority for me. Everything inside the set feels like it could be functional, when everything gets closed up. The minifigures in here still make sense within that space. So this is a custom build, and there's certainly issues and plenty of things that I'm not happy with. Building Legos feels just like this compromise. It's all about compromises, and I wanted to create something that looked cool from the front, was fun to open up and play with my kids, but it meant that I had to start making compromises of my own. With the original Monster Fighters set, it looks as good from the back as the front or the sides. That wasn't a priority for me. Just the way my haunted house gets displayed, I might work on fixing up the back later, but it's a really low priority, and honestly, I'm really low on pieces as well. I also decided to knock out a bit of the wall here, just to make the staircase a lot more easy and more accessible to get to. Again, you can only notice the gap from the back. Moving forward, I'd like to implement a better garden setup with the overgrown vegetation for my plant guy. Maybe a few more Halloween specific things like pumpkins, jack-o'-lanterns. The above the staircase, I would like to add maybe like a light feature or a chandelier, not to mention fixing up the roof in the back of the building. Plenty of things I want to do, but still super happy with what I have here. And like I said, let me know what you like, what you don't like, what you would do differently, and if you've got some of your own favorite haunted houses and builds, go ahead and link them below. I'll be really keen to check them out and rip off your ideas. Anyway, thanks for watching. Cheers.